Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, The Word is Not the Noise. This happened because I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me that, everything is as it is, and then when we begin talking, when the word comes in, that's the noise. And I said to him that the word is not the noise. The noise is a thought believed in. What do I mean by that? When you're sleeping, just sleeping, all that there is mind, empty mind, open mind. See? That's it. It's the field of all possibilities. The moment a dream appears in the mind, the dream is not the noise either, you see? The dream is just a thought. That's it. The moment the mind believes the dream, because the attention goes to the dream, it has forgotten that it is the mind. That's the noise. Now, in the dream, when the figure in the dream begins to talk, that talking is not the noise. It's just another level of the noise. You see? Because if the mind is dreaming a dream, but it's aware that it's mind dreaming a dream, even with the thoughts and even with the figure in the dream speaking, whatever, there's no noise. All that there is witnessing. You see? Well, in this world of appearances, words are not noise. Thoughts are not noise. The thought is the noise when I believe in the thought. That's when the thought itself becomes noise. And speaking is just another level of noise. You see? Now, why a thought becomes noise? When we have overlooked the thought that says I am a separate entity. In other words, the moment the thought I am this separate thing, separate entity, which is a thought, but when the moment that thought is believed, then every other thought that appears, it's attached to or it's related to this original thought. You see? When the investigation is done and there's a realization, not by anyone, but that's a limitation of language, that I am not this thought that says I am this, then every thought can be seen and observed, but it's not personal. That's the difference. Like right now, there's the appearance of a me who's making a video. Not a problem with that. That's fine. It's just what happens, and it's seen as such. It is seen as what happens. You can be talking to someone, you can be engaged in a conversation with someone, in any activity, and yet you can still remain as is. You see? This is where these videos are pointing to, so at least within the world of appearances, you can live in the world with a mind that is not of it. You see? This is where this is all pointing to. That's why we're not trying to become something. We're not trying to, at least with these videos, this is not about becoming enlightened or trying to wake up or something like that. It's about the recognition, the I am, which is not the real I am. The I am is, it's what is. But there's a recognition when there's no identification with the content of the mind that I rest as I am and I live as I am, even while I am interacting and doing whatever is done in the world. You see, this is again the mentality that is not of the world, even when it's living in the world, also known as the peace that passes all understanding. Because the peace that passes all understanding is simply the experience itself without the interpretation of the mind, meaning without the noise. You see? Thoughts will be there, that's not noise. Believing them is noise, because again, the thought I individual has been believed and has been overlooked. Therefore, we need an I, we need a sense of individual, a person, for example. That's what I need in order for me to believe a thought. If there's no person, who would be believing anything? See? Only when there's a sense of me, a person, an individual, then all the thoughts can be believed or not. But still, there's an idea that there's a me who's even observing them. See, that's why when we talk about observing the thoughts, a lot of times the mind looks at it, oh, okay, so I'm going to be the observer of the thoughts. But even that itself is a sense of identity that claims that it's observing the thoughts, and we're going beyond that. What you are is prior to thoughts. You see, what we are, what it is prior to thinking, prior to thoughts, prior to perception. It is. And this is pointing to that. That's why I always say, if you right now don't identify with any thoughts, then what remains? And the thing is, again, the mind is trying to turn it into an exercise. Now the mind says, okay, I'm not going to identify with any thoughts, but that's still the mind involved. Let's try this little exercise just for the fun of it, see what happens. I want you to look at me right now, okay? And notice, just notice, you're looking at me, but do not identify with any thoughts about me. For example, the thoughts may be saying that I am seeing a male, may suggest that I'm seeing, if you're looking at this with a color screen, you may see a shirt that is, I don't know, aqua is what they call this. You may see skin that is sort of brown skin, give or take. A grayish black hair. You see, all these are interpretations that the mind is making of the image that it seems to be seeing. The invitation that I'm going to ask you is, look at that same image, but don't think. Don't let any thoughts interpret or describe anything. Just look at it without any thoughts. And what is it that you're actually seeing? You see? You're looking at me, but you're not identifying with any thoughts. So what are you seeing? Well, now when you think of you, okay, and I ask you, who are you? Well, the think of you is a thought, so that's not exactly the right wording, but I mean, if I ask you, who are you, and you don't identify with any thoughts about you, then who are you? See? It's like you're living life, or life is living through the instrument you, but without the interpretation of the mind, then all that there is what is. See, this is where these videos are pointing to. Now, in that isness where the mind is not identified, are there any problems? Is there any fear? Any worries, concern, any guilt? You see? Without the thoughts, what is left? See, this is the invitation. This is what these videos are all about. That's it. It's not about what you do, or the person, or the character doing lives, or even trying to fix the character. It's not about any of that. There's no fixing. There's have to be a something in order to be fixed, but you are no thing. You simply are. And in amness, in the R-ness, whatever, there's nothing to fix. You see? Only when the thought goes to the sense of identity and then says, yeah, but my problem is, you see, you have overlooked the whole thing. It's very simple. And then again, the mind comes with all sorts of possibilities. And how do I function in the world? Well, you don't have to function in the world. You are functioning anyway by the nature, or by what? By that which supposedly projects the whole thing. You don't need to function in the world. You know, you are. That's why there's a video that one of the videos that I think it's called You don't need to earn a living. I'll put the link on the description, which is a pretty cool video. So you don't need to do anything because it's been done. You don't need to breathe. Breathing is happening. You don't need to see. Seeing is happening. You don't need to hear. Hearing is happening. You don't need to, if you're eating something, you don't need to digest food. Digestion is happening. You see, everything is happening, but somehow the thought I person, with the conditioning that I am doing something, which of course assumes that there's such a thing as a doer. That's why there's another video, it's called Do We Have Free Will? I'll put the description in the link. When all of that gets in the way, which is just thoughts, then all this, which is the obviousness, just becomes complicated. Life is happening. You see, life is happening right now. I am not choosing making these videos, and yet it seems as though an inspiration comes with an idea, then the inspiration moves this instrument to pick up the camera and begin to make the video. But there's a recognition that this is just a happening that is really not happening to anyone. This is just what is. That's it. End of story. This is very simple. It's not complicated. Don't let the mind get involved. Don't let the mind get in the way. Don't let the thoughts get in the way. Don't distract by any thoughts. And if you're not distracted by it, then you are living as is. And then that is the isness from which everything is done. You see, life happens. It's a very subtle shift, but the mind is afraid of letting go of control because of the thought that suggests that you have to be in control, because you haven't done the investigation and realized that you're not in control of anything. I'm not in control of anything. Life is in control. Life decides when I'm staying or when I'm leaving this experience. Life is taking care of everything. It's breathing me, wakes me up in the morning, and then life happens like it always has. What were you doing during the time where you're in deep sleep? You see, well, you were not conscious. What were you doing? How were you functioning? You see, you were not functioning at all. I mean, you were not making yourself function. Everything was functioning within the dream, of course, within this world of appearances, taking care of, pure resting. Then life wakes you up in the morning, and then the new scene in the play begins. The question is, are you going to believe the play as something that is happening to you? Or are you beginning to see the play as just an appearance that has nothing to do with you? See, once you begin to see the play from that perspective, then you're free. And again, this is the challenge with language, because you are not seeing the play from any perspective. There's not a you. That's the point. The you is a thought. It's a belief. That's the original cause, you see. When that is believed, then every single thought about this you is believed. You see, I am good, I am bad, ugly, pretty, tall, short, male, female, I am from this country, I'm from this another country, I am... You see, all these thoughts are believed only when the thought I individual is believed. But the thought individual is just a thought, and again, if you do the investigation, you see that that is so. Right now, if I ask you who are you, you have to go to the mind, and you say, yeah, but I'm saying, no, you're not feeling anything. Sensations and feeling they're just different textures of the totality that you are taking ownership of it, because you believe the thought I individual. So if I believe the thought I individual, I'm gonna believe that everything is happening to me. I am feeling this, I am thinking this. But see if you're the one thinking the thoughts, or notice how thoughts appear by themselves. You see? But the mind owns it. Oh, but these are my thoughts, these are not your thoughts, they just appear without your consent. These are my feelings. No, these are not your feelings. Feelings appear without your consent. See? So let's get back to the essence. This is my body. No, well, if you say this is my body, they suggest that there's an I who has a body. Who is the I that has the body? You see, that which supposedly can perceive it all is not non-duality yet, but at least it's closer to the space-like in which we are. But if I don't take ownership of the thought that says I am seeing this, you see, if I don't take ownership of the thought that says this is mine or whatever, then life is. You see, an animal, for example, is just living life. It's just pure experiencing of life, and it acts according to its conditioning. That's all. The impulses comes organically, because if it's hungry, the animal immediately, the life, not the animal, you see, life itself moves the instrument called animal to do something, but the animal never says I am an animal. The animal doesn't know anything, doesn't have an identity. It just simply, moving through life. We look at dogs, for example, or animals or something like that, and we begin to try to project on them human beliefs or so. The only thing that animals can react to is not to interpretations, but to sensations themselves. The dog or the animal reacts to pain and reacts to pleasure, but it doesn't react to any interpretation. Pain is pain, and that's it. Pleasure is pleasure, and that's it. But the animal does not say this pain means blah blah blah, or this pleasure means blah blah blah. Well, you say we have that potentiality. We can see that pain is just pain and pleasure is pleasure, but then the mind goes into this means blah blah blah, and then we begin to feel the sensations and the reaction to that meaning, not to the pain or the pleasure. If you don't label it pain and you don't label it pleasure, then it's just what is. Yeah, it's felt, and if something can be done about it, you see how the instrument is naturally moved to do something about it. But there's not a suffering. You see, the content of suffering is not there, because the pain is not a threat and the pleasure is not something special either. The pain is a pain and the pleasure is the pleasure. But if I know what I am, not that I know what I am, but there's a recognition of what I am, then there's no threat to what I am. There may be a threat to a body, but not to what I am. And we're pointing to what I am. That's why there's a Course in Miracles at the very beginning, and it's overlooked. You see, that's why you got thousands of pages to try to bring you back to the beginning. But the introduction right there tells you this course can be summed up like this: nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Right there, the whole course summarized right there. But the mind cannot grasp any of that, because it's reading it from the perspective of the individual. But what it's pointing to is nothing real can be threatened, meaning that if you're in bed dreaming a dream, you in bed is the real thing, so you cannot be threatening. Nothing unreal exists. The dream itself, which you think is what it can threaten you because you believe you're the character in the dream is unreal. So you in bed is the real thing. Nothing real can be threatened. The you that you claim to be in the dream, well, there's not a you in the dream, but the psychological belief that there's a you in the dream, and the dream is unreal. You see, nothing unreal exists. When that distinction is clearly seen, then herein lies the peace of God. So how do we apply this to the human experience? It's very simple. Nothing real, which is what I am in essence, without any interpretation. That's what I am always, before I wake up in the morning, while I am supposedly awake, and after I go to bed. That is real. That cannot be threatened by anything. Only thoughts interpreting it is what creates the sense of fear, the alienation, separation. So what I am, nothing real can be threatened. There you go, you see. Nothing unreal exists. What is unreal? Thoughts. This is the point. What is unreal is not the world of appearances, it's thought. Without thought, the world of appearances is no distraction. Nothing unreal exists. When that distinction is made, herein lies the peace of God. So what do we say in these videos? Right now, don't identify with any thoughts, but not you as a person. This is just pointing to the obvious, that if there's no identification with any thoughts, all that there is left is the peace of God. So Anyhow, this is inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.